In a significant development that could reshape North American trade dynamics, President Donald Trump announced a temporary pause on tariffs against Mexico and Canada. This decision follows negotiations where both nations agreed to enhance border security efforts, particularly in combating drug trafficking and illegal immigration. The move, which grants a 30-day reprieve, alleviates immediate fears of a trade war that could have severe economic repercussions for all parties involved. The announcement was made by Trump on Monday, shortly after discussions with Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. "I am very pleased with this initial outcome," Trump stated on social media, emphasizing the importance of fairness and cooperation in trade relations. The president's tweet underscored a commitment to exploring a final economic deal with Canada while acknowledging the complexities of the ongoing negotiations. In the wake of Trump's announcement, both Sheinbaum and Trudeau outlined their respective commitments to bolster efforts against drug trafficking. Sheinbaum declared that Mexico would deploy an additional 10,000 National Guard troops to the U.S. border, while Trudeau revealed plans for Canada to appoint a fentanyl czar and label Mexican cartels as terrorist organizations. These measures are part of a broader strategy to enhance security cooperation across borders and address the critical issues of drug smuggling and illegal immigration that have long troubled U.S.-Mexico relations. This pause on tariffs, however, does not eliminate the threat entirely. Trump has not shied away from issuing warnings about potential future tariffs, particularly aimed at China, which is still facing a 10% levy on all products imported into the U.S. Observers note that while the temporary truce with Canada and Mexico may provide a short-term solution, the underlying tensions remain. Financial markets reacted cautiously, with some investors relieved at the delay while others expressed concern over the overall unpredictability of Trump's trade policies. Economic analysts have warned that tariffs, if fully implemented, could lead to increased consumer prices and hurt economic growth. Studies from institutions like the Tax Foundation and Peterson Institute for International Economics suggest that such measures could disproportionately impact middle-income families and lower overall living standards in the U.S. Despite this, Trump continues to argue that tariffs are necessary tools to compel foreign nations to respect U.S. interests and curb illegal activities. The dynamics of this trade dialogue have evolved significantly since the early days of Trump's presidency. During his previous term, negotiations with Mexico resulted in the deployment of troops to the southern border, which successfully averted tariffs at that time. The current administration's approach, however, has shifted, with an increased focus on securing concrete commitments from both Canada and Mexico to address U.S. concerns over illegal immigration and drug trafficking. As the pause on tariffs remains in effect, analysts will be closely monitoring the outcomes of these negotiations and the potential repercussions on U.S. trade relations, particularly with Europe, where Trump has hinted at impending tariffs. The evolving landscape indicates that while immediate threats may have subsided, the complexities of international trade relations are far from resolved. Looking ahead, the effectiveness of the agreements reached will depend on tangible outcomes in border security and drug trafficking prevention. Both Canada and Mexico have significant stakes in maintaining stable trade relations with the U.S., given their integral roles in the North American supply chain. As the deadline for tariff implementation approaches, stakeholders from businesses to government officials will need to navigate these turbulent waters with care. As the potential for renewed tensions looms on the horizon, in a bold move that underscores growing geopolitical tensions surrounding technology, Australia has banned the Chinese artificial intelligence startup DeepSeek from all government devices and systems due to serious national security concerns. This decision follows DeepSeek's recent emergence in the AI landscape, where it claimed to offer chatbot capabilities rivaling those of established U.S. competitors while operating at a significantly lower training cost. The Australian government has been explicit in its rationale, stating the ban is driven not solely by DeepSeek's Chinese origins but by the unacceptable risk it poses to national security. Consequently, all government entities are required to cease the use or installation of DeepSeek products, applications, and web services, ensuring that any previously installed software is removed from government systems. This sweeping directive affects a wide range of personnel. including those in the Australia Electoral Commission and the Bureau of Meteorology, though it remains unclear if public sector devices in education and other sectors will also be affected. Importantly, the ban does not extend to private citizens, indicating a targeted approach focused on safeguarding governmental operations. DeepSeek's rise has not gone unnoticed on the global stage, with its chatbot quickly climbing to the top of download charts in both the UK and the US. The initial excitement surrounding the app was palpable, with former President Donald Trump describing its capabilities as a potential wake-up call for the US. Yet as scrutiny has intensified, skepticism has emerged regarding its data privacy practices. Concerns were amplified when the app was removed from Italian app stores after its privacy policy drew criticism. Echoing previous actions against ChatGPT in Italy in early 2023. The Australian government's move is part of a broader trend among Western nations to scrutinize Chinese technology firms. Concerns are not limited to DeepSeek. Similar apprehensions have been raised about telecom giants like Huawei and social media platforms such as TikTok, both of which have faced restrictions based on national security grounds. The Australian Science Minister has previously warned of the need for caution regarding DeepSeek, referencing potential data privacy issues. This scrutiny is not unique to Australia. Regulatory bodies in South Korea, Ireland, and France have initiated investigations into how DeepSeek manages user data, particularly given that it reportedly stores sensitive information on servers located in China. The White House has also indicated that it is examining potential security implications related to DeepSeek, further illustrating the pervasive anxiety over foreign technologies' influence in sensitive sectors. As governments around the world grapple with the implications of rapidly advancing AI technologies, the case of DeepSeek serves as a reminder of the delicate balance between innovation and security. The question of what data these AI tools collect and how it is utilized remains at the forefront of discussions surrounding their deployment, especially in sensitive domains. Security experts have emphasized the importance of caution for individuals in confidential positions, as information entered into chatbots could be retained and analyzed by developers, including those behind DeepSeek. In the wake of this ban, it remains to be seen how the global AI landscape will evolve as nations prioritize security. The future of AI development could hinge on navigating the complex interplay between technological advancement and geopolitical considerations. The rise of companies like DeepSeek poses not just an opportunity for innovation but also a challenge that governments must address to safeguard their national interests. This evolving narrative will undoubtedly shape the discourse on technology policy for years to come. In a significant escalation of trade tensions, China has retaliated against the United States' new tariffs imposed by the Trump administration, setting the stage for a renewed economic confrontation. As of February 4, 2025, the Chinese government announced a series of limited tariffs on U.S. imports, introducing a 15% levy on a range of American goods. This response comes in the wake of President Trump's sweeping tariffs that have already begun to impact various sectors of the economy, including technology and agriculture. The White House's recent policy changes aim to address what it describes as unfair trade practices by China, including intellectual property theft and market manipulation. President Trump, speaking at a press conference, asserted, "We are taking strong measures to protect American jobs and industries. China has taken advantage of us for too long." This hardline stance reflects a broader strategy to reshape international trade dynamics and diminish the U.S. trade deficit. China's countermeasures, however, signal that it will not back down easily. The tariffs target specific sectors including agricultural products, automobiles, and machinery, which are crucial to American exporters. A spokesperson for the Chinese Ministry of Commerce stated, "We have to protect our economic interests and respond to the unreasonable actions of the U.S. government." This statement underscores Beijing's commitment to maintaining its trade equilibrium while challenging U.S. policies that it views as aggressive. The timing of these tariffs is particularly noteworthy as it coincides with a period of heightened scrutiny on both sides regarding trade policies and practices. The escalating tariffs could lead to a vicious cycle of retaliation, which analysts warn might disrupt global supply chains and hinder economic growth on both sides. According to a recent analysis by the Peterson Institute for International Economics, prolonged trade hostilities could decrease GDP growth in both the US and China by up to 1% over the next year. Businesses in affected industries are already feeling the strain. US farmers, who heavily rely on exports to China, are particularly anxious about the impact of retaliatory tariffs on their livelihoods. "We've worked hard to build those markets, and losing them to tariffs would be devastating," said a representative from the American Farm Bureau Federation. The uncertainty surrounding trade relations has also prompted U.S. companies to reconsider their supply chains, with some exploring alternatives to mitigate risks associated with potential tariffs. Looking ahead, the future of U.S.-China trade relations remains uncertain. While both nations have expressed a desire for dialogue, the stark differences in their approaches suggest that reaching a consensus will be challenging. Economic experts believe that without constructive negotiations, the situation could escalate further, leading to more extensive tariffs and countertariffs that could have long-lasting implications for the global economy. As both sides brace for the impact of their respective policies, the world watches closely. The outcome of this trade dispute will not only affect bilateral relations but could also reshape the landscape of global trade for years to come. With both the US and China holding firm to their positions, the coming weeks may prove critical in determining whether this trade war will escalate or if a path to resolution can be found. In a rapidly evolving global landscape, the geopolitical chessboard is witnessing significant maneuvers, particularly concerning the United States and China. Recent statements and actions from President-elect Donald Trump signal a heightened focus on Beijing's growing influence, especially in strategic regions like Greenland, the Panama Canal, and the Arctic. This shift comes at a pivotal moment as China continues to assert its ambitions across the globe, challenging U.S. interests and alliances. Trump's administration is poised to adopt a more aggressive stance toward China, reminiscent of the Monroe Doctrine's protective posture. This historical context is crucial as it underlines a contemporary effort to curb Chinese expansionism in the Western Hemisphere. As Trump prepares to unveil a revised national security strategy, the message is clear: the U.S. will no longer remain passive while China seeks to establish dominance over critical maritime routes and infrastructure. The urgency of this message is accentuated by China's ambitious Belt and Road Initiative, which, while framed as an economic endeavor, serves as a dual-purpose strategy to enhance military reach and control over key choke points. For instance, the Belt and Road Initiative has led to significant Chinese investments in Africa, culminating in the establishment of China's first overseas military base in Djibouti, strategically located near U.S. military operations. This development raises alarms about the potential for Chinese military encroachment on Western trade routes, particularly in the Gulf of Aden and the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. Trump's rhetoric regarding the Panama Canal further illustrates this point. The canal, a vital artery for global trade, is increasingly under the influence of Chinese enterprises, notably through the Landbridge Group and C.K. Hutchison Holdings. As these companies operate ports at both ends of the canal, the implications for U.S. maritime security become pronounced. Trump's warning can be seen as a critical reminder that the U.S. must be vigilant against any moves that could undermine its strategic interests in the region. Moreover, the Arctic has emerged as another focal point in this geopolitical contest. Global warming has opened new maritime routes, and as China positions itself as a near-Arctic state, the potential for increased military presence in the region poses a direct challenge to U.S. capabilities. The inadequacy of the U.S. Navy's current icebreaker fleet, with only 2 vessels to cover the Northwest Passage, highlights a glaring vulnerability in American Arctic defense. In parallel, the Philippines has recently uncovered a Chinese spy ring targeting U.S. and allied military infrastructure, further underscoring the tangible threats posed by Beijing's intelligence operations. Such incidents serve as a stark reminder of the importance of vigilance in safeguarding national security. The interconnectedness of these geopolitical issues cannot be overstated. Whether it is through military posturing in the Arctic or economic infiltration via the Panama Canal, the Chinese government's ambitions are clear. As tensions rise, the question remains, will the U.S. demonstrate the resolve needed to confront these challenges head-on? As Trump's administration embarks on its new journey, the world will be watching closely. The interplay of military strategy, economic policy, and international alliances will shape the future of U.S.-China relations. How effectively the U.S. navigates these complex terrains will not only determine its standing on the global stage but also influence the broader balance of power in the coming decades. As the geopolitical landscape continues to shift dramatically, the European Union appears poised to recalibrate its foreign policy, particularly regarding its relationship with China. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen recently articulated a nuanced approach that suggests a potential thaw in EU-China relations, even as tensions with the United States loom large. This emerging stance reflects a strategic pivot in response to the complexities of global politics, especially in light of the recent return of Donald Trump to the White House. In a significant address to the EU's diplomatic corps in Brussels, von der Leyen emphasized the importance of de-risking the EU's economic ties while simultaneously leaving the door open for constructive engagement with Beijing. We will keep de-risking our economic relationship, as we have been doing in recent years. But there is also room to engage constructively with China and find solutions in our mutual interest, she stated. Her remarks underscore a critical balancing act, navigating the competitive dynamics of international relations while seeking beneficial collaborations with one of the world's largest economies. This shift in tone is particularly noteworthy given von der Leyen's previous posture as a staunch advocate for a more confrontational approach to China. Under her leadership, the EU had adopted a more assertive stance aiming to address trade imbalances and pressing Beijing to reconsider its support for Russia amidst the ongoing Ukraine crisis. It is a fine line that we need to walk, but it can lead us to a fairer and more balanced relationship with one of the world's economic giants, she elaborated, indicating a readiness to explore avenues that could expand trade and investment ties. The backdrop to this recalibration is the evolving relationship between the EU and the United States. As transatlantic ties face challenges, particularly with the re-emergence of Trump's administration, the EU may find itself re-evaluating its strategies and alliances in a hot-headed world, as von der Leyen described. The potential for increasing friction with the US complicates the EU's approach, prompting leaders to reconsider their diplomatic and economic strategies not only with Washington but also with Beijing. The implications of this shifting stance are profound. For Europe, deepening ties with China could provide economic opportunities and a counterbalance to US pressures. However, it also raises questions about the EU's commitments to its democratic values and strategic interests. As von der Leyen noted, the path forward is fraught with challenges and the EU must navigate these waters carefully to ensure a balanced and fair relationship. Looking ahead, the EU's evolving relationship with China will be closely watched as it unfolds against the backdrop of US-China tensions and global economic uncertainties. The future will likely hinge on the EU's ability to maintain its autonomy in foreign policy while balancing its economic interests with the competing demands of its traditional ally. This delicate dance could redefine not only Europe's role on the global stage but also the broader dynamics of international relations in an increasingly interconnected world.